Hey Taurus, I need to sit down with you for this one because what the cards are showing me about your situation is honestly something that needs to be said with complete transparency. If you have been feeling like something was off, like there were pieces of a puzzle that never quite fit together in that relationship, I want you to know that your intuition was absolutely correct. The cards are about to reveal some truths that might be difficult to hear, but I promise you, this clarity is exactly what you need right now to finally move forward. Before we dive into this reading, I want you to take a deep breath. What we are about to uncover together is not just about what happened, but more importantly, it is about understanding the why behind their actions. And I have to tell you, Taurus, the universe has been protecting you in ways you might not even realize yet. So let me shuffle these cards for you, and let us see what truth wants to come through today. The first card that comes forward is the Moon. And honestly, Taurus, when I pulled this card, I had to pause for a moment because this energy is so telling. The Moon speaks to illusion, deception, and things hidden beneath the surface. What this card is revealing to me is that your person was never showing you their authentic self. There was always a version of them that existed in the shadows, a version they kept carefully concealed from you. Think about those moments when something felt slightly off, when their story did not quite add up, when their actions contradicted their words. The Moon is confirming that those instincts you had were picking up on a deeper truth. This card is showing me that they were living a double life in some capacity. Now, that does not necessarily mean they had another partner from the beginning, but it does mean they were presenting an image to you that was carefully curated, almost like a performance. They showed you what they wanted you to see, what would keep you invested, what would make you believe in the fantasy they were creating. But underneath that surface, there were thoughts, intentions, and possibly other connections they were deliberately hiding from you. The Moon energy suggests that nighttime, private moments, or times when you were not around were when their true self emerged. What makes the Moon particularly significant in your reading is that it represents fear-based behavior. This person was operating from a place of deep insecurity and fear. They were afraid that if you saw the real them, with all their flaws, contradictions, and perhaps their inability to commit fully, you would walk away. So instead of being honest, instead of being vulnerable, they chose deception. They chose to keep you in the dark while they figured out what they really wanted. And here is the thing that might be hard to accept, but needs to be said. They may not have even fully understood what they were doing. The Moon can indicate someone who is so disconnected from their own truth that they cannot possibly be truthful with another person. I am also seeing with the Moon that there were secrets, Taurus, communications they deleted, places they went without full disclosure, connections they maintained that you were not aware of. This card often appears when someone has been keeping aspects of their life completely separate, almost compartmentalized. You were in one compartment of their life, and there were other compartments you never got to see. The disrespect in that is profound because you were showing up fully, authentically, giving them your whole heart, while they were only offering you fragments of themselves. The Moon is also telling me about the confusion you felt during this connection. There were probably times when everything seemed perfect, when they were attentive and loving, and then suddenly they would withdraw, become distant, or their energy would completely shift. This inconsistency was not random, it was calculated. When they were giving you their full attention, it was often because they needed something from you, whether that was validation, emotional support, or simply to keep you attached. But when they pulled back, that was when they were tending to other areas of their life that they did not want you to know about. Now let me pull the next card because we need to understand what they were actually doing behind your back. 3 of Cups comes through, and Taurus, this card is really driving home the message about celebration, social connections, and plural energy. When 3 of Cups appears in a reading about betrayal and deception, it is usually indicating that this person was maintaining connections with other people in ways that violated your relationship agreement. This could mean they were still involved with an ex, entertaining new romantic interests, or even just keeping their options open by flirting and engaging with others inappropriately. The Three of Cups shows groups, gatherings, and social situations. I am getting the sense that when they were out with friends, at parties, or in social settings without you, their behavior was very different from how they acted when you were present. They were probably getting attention from others, and they were enjoying it, feeding off it, maybe even encouraging it. This card suggests they were not setting proper boundaries in social situations because they liked feeling desired, liked having options, liked the ego boost that came from knowing multiple people were interested in them. What is particularly revealing about the Three of Cups in this position is that it shows someone who prioritizes external validation over the sanctity of their relationship. They needed the approval and attention of others more than they valued the trust and commitment you two were building. And here is what really gets me about this energy. They probably justified this behavior to themselves. They probably told themselves that harmless flirting was not cheating, that maintaining close friendships with people who clearly wanted more was just being friendly, that going out and getting attention from others was just having fun. The Three of Cups is also showing me that they may have had friends or a social circle that enabled this behavior. You know those friends who encourage bad decisions, who think commitment is boring, who are always suggesting people should keep their options open? Your person was likely surrounded by that kind of energy, and instead of standing firm in their values and their commitment to you, they got swept up in it. They were more concerned with fitting in with their friends, with being seen as fun and available, than they were with honoring what you two had together. I am also picking up with this card that celebration and good times were more important to them than depth and emotional intimacy. When things got real in your relationship, when you needed to have serious conversations or work through challenges, they probably checked out or became distant. But when it was time to have fun, go out, be social, suddenly they had all the energy in the world. This shows someone who is emotionally immature, someone who wants the benefits of a relationship, the companionship and support, without doing the actual work that relationships require. Let me pull another card, because I want to understand what was going on in their internal world. The High Priestess comes through, and this is fascinating because the High Priestess holds secrets, hidden knowledge, and unspoken truths. In this context, this card is showing me that your person knew exactly what they were doing. This was not innocent behavior. This was not accidental. They were fully aware that they were deceiving you. The High Priestess represents consciousness and awareness, so when she appears in a reading about betrayal, it confirms that every choice they made was deliberate. What the High Priestess is revealing is that they kept their true intentions and feelings hidden from you intentionally. They had knowledge about their own behavior, about other connections, about their real level of commitment, and they consciously chose not to share that information with you. Every time you asked them a direct question and they deflected or gave you a partial truth, that was the High Priestess energy. They were gatekeeping information that you deserved to have because they knew that if you had the full picture, you would make different choices about the relationship. This card is also showing me that they may have been very good at reading you, at understanding your vulnerabilities, your triggers, your needs, and they use that knowledge strategically. The High Priestess represents intuition and emotional intelligence, and in the hands of someone operating from a lower vibration, those gifts become tools for manipulation. They knew exactly what to say to calm your concerns, exactly how to behave to keep you invested, exactly when to show affection to prevent you from walking away. I am also getting with the High Priestess that there were things they simply refused to discuss with you. Certain topics were off limits. Certain questions were met with defensiveness or accusations of you being insecure or controlling. This was a tactic to keep you from accessing the truth. By making you feel bad for having legitimate concerns or asking reasonable questions, they maintained control over the narrative and kept their secrets safe. The High Priestess can represent silence, and in this case, it was the silence of someone who had a lot to hide. The High Priestess is also connected to the subconscious and dreams, and I would not be surprised if you had dreams or strong intuitive hits during this relationship that something was wrong. You might have even had dreams about them with other people, or woken up with an inexplicable feeling of unease. That was your own High Priestess energy, trying to get your attention, trying to warn you that what was happening on the surface was not the whole story. Our subconscious picks up on things our conscious mind wants to deny, and I am sensing you had many moments of knowing that you talked yourself out of. Now I need to pull a card to show us what they were actually doing when they were not with you, because that seems to be a key piece of this puzzle. Six of Cups appears, and Taurus, this card is really opening up something important. Six of Cups represents the past, nostalgia, old connections, and sometimes returning to what is familiar. In the context of your situation, this is strongly suggesting that they were still emotionally or even physically involved with someone from their past. This could be an ex-partner, an old flame, someone they had history with but told you was no longer relevant. The Six of Cups shows that they never fully closed the door on a previous connection. Even if they told you it was over, even if they claimed they had moved on, the truth is they were still holding space for that person in their heart and possibly in their life. I am getting the sense that they compared you to this person, that they would reminisce about the past, that they kept mementos or maintained contact in ways they did not fully disclose to you. This card suggests they were torn between the comfort of what was familiar and the potential of what was new with you. What makes Six of Cups particularly painful is that it represents innocence and pure intentions, but in this reading, it is showing how they manipulated that energy. They may have presented their connection to this past person as innocent friendship, as just catching up with an old friend, as harmless nostalgia. But the reality is, there were unresolved feelings there, and they were nurturing those feelings while simultaneously being with you. The Six of Cups can indicate someone who is emotionally stuck in the past, unable to fully show up for present connections because they are still processing or longing for something that came before. I am also seeing with this card that they may have reached out to this past person during difficult times in your relationship. Whenever you two had conflict or challenges, instead of working through it with you, they would turn to this person from their past for comfort and validation. This created a triangle where you were competing with a ghost, with a memory, with someone who held a piece of their heart that should have been yours. And the cruel part is, you probably did not even know you were in competition because they kept this connection so carefully hidden. The Six of Cups is showing me that they have a pattern of not fully releasing past connections before moving into new ones. This is someone who collects people, who likes to keep their options open, who cannot bear to fully let go even when they have moved on. So when they were with you, there was always someone else in the background, someone they could run back to if things did not work out, someone who represented safety and familiarity. You deserved someone who was fully available, and the Six of Cups is confirming they were not. Let me draw another card because I want to understand what led to them finally leaving. Ace of Swords comes through with such sharp, cutting energy. The Ace of Swords represents truth, clarity, mental breakthrough, and decisive action. What this card is telling me is that there came a moment when the truth could no longer be hidden. Either you discovered something that could not be explained away, or they realized they could not maintain the deception any longer. Or perhaps their lies caught up with them in a way that forced everything into the light. The Ace of Swords is about cutting through illusion, and in this case, it represents the moment when the false image they had created just shattered. This might have been a specific incident, a piece of evidence you found, a conversation you overheard, or simply an accumulation of inconsistencies that finally reached a breaking point. Whatever happened, the Ace of Swords shows that the truth came through with force and clarity, leaving no room for denial or further manipulation. What is significant about the Ace of Swords in terms of why they left is that it represents a mental decision, a choice made from the head rather than the heart. They did not leave because their feelings changed. They left because continuing the deception became too difficult, too risky, or too uncomfortable. This was a strategic exit. They assessed the situation and decided that leaving was the best option for them, whether that meant protecting their lies, avoiding accountability, or simply moving on to whatever else or whoever else they had waiting. The Ace of Swords is also showing me that they may have tried to control the narrative around the breakup. They probably wanted to be the one to end things, to have the last word, to frame the story in a way that made them look better or made you look like the problem. This card represents communication, and I am sensing they said things during the breakup that were designed to hurt you, to make you doubt yourself, or to justify their actions. They wielded words like weapons, using truth mixed with lies to create a version of events that served their ego. I am also picking up with the Ace of Swords that there may have been a third party who brought truth to light or influenced their decision to leave. Sometimes this card can indicate that someone else revealed information or that they made a choice to pursue another connection more seriously and therefore needed to end things with you. The sword cuts both ways, and while it brought painful truth, it also severed a connection that was built on false foundations, which ultimately is a gift even though it does not feel like one right now. Now I need to understand their emotional state during all of this, because actions are one thing, but understanding the internal experience is important for your healing. Wheel of Fortune appears, and Taurus, this card is all about cycles, fate, karma, and changes in circumstances. What the Wheel of Fortune is showing me is that your person has a pattern of behavior, a cycle they repeat in relationships. They enter with excitement and intensity. They create an illusion of deep connection. Then as reality sets in and real intimacy is required, they start to withdraw and seek external validation. Eventually they exit, whether by being caught or by their own choice, and then the cycle begins again with someone new. The Wheel of Fortune is indicating that this was not personal to you, in the sense that you were not uniquely at fault or insufficient. This is simply what they do. They are stuck on a wheel of their own creation, repeating patterns that stem from deep wounds, unmet needs, and unresolved issues within themselves. You were not the first person they did this to, and unless they do serious internal work, you will not be the last. The wheel keeps turning, and they keep making the same choices, hurting different people in the same ways. What is both sad and liberating about the Wheel of Fortune in this position is that it shows their behavior is compulsive and driven by forces they may not even fully understand or control. They are operating from programming, from patterns established long ago, possibly from their own experiences of abandonment or betrayal. This does not excuse their actions, but it does explain them. They are not a villain in a story. They are a wounded person making destructive choices. And you happened to be in their path when they were in this particular cycle. The Wheel of Fortune is also about ups and downs, and I am sure you experience that constantly in the relationship. Times when everything felt perfect, and you were so happy together, followed by sudden distance, conflict, or unexplained changes in their behavior. This was the wheel turning, their internal state shifting, their commitment level fluctuating based on what else was happening in their life or who else was giving them attention. The instability you felt was real, and it was exhausting trying to hold on to someone who was constantly changing. I am also seeing with this card that timing played a role in how things unfolded. Perhaps they left at a time that was particularly difficult for you, or conversely, the universe orchestrated the timing of the truth coming out in a way that was actually protective for you, even if it did not feel that way. The Wheel of Fortune reminds us that there are larger forces at play, that sometimes what seems like the worst possible outcome is actually fate intervening on our behalf, removing us from situations that would only cause more harm if they continued. Let me pull another card because I want to see what their true intentions were throughout this relationship. Eight of Pentacles comes through, and this is such an interesting card in this context. Eight of Pentacles is about dedication, hard work, skill development, and focused effort. What this card is revealing to me is that they were very deliberate and practiced in their deception. This was not amateur hour. They had refined their ability to maintain multiple connections, to lie convincingly, to manage different versions of themselves for different people. The Eight of Pentacles shows someone who has put time and energy into developing these skills, as troubling as that sounds. They knew how to read situations, how to cover their tracks, how to make you feel secure while simultaneously betraying your trust. Every text message was carefully crafted. Every story had just enough detail to sound true, but not so much that they would trip themselves up later. They were a craftsman of deception. And that level of calculation is honestly chilling when you really think about it. What the Eight of Pentacles is also showing me is that maintaining the lie became almost like a job for them, something they worked at consistently. They were putting effort into their deception the way most people put effort into their careers or hobbies. This was not spontaneous or impulsive behavior. This was sustained, ongoing, deliberate betrayal. Every day, they made a choice to continue the lie, to keep you in the dark, to prioritize their own desires over your right to make informed decisions about your own life. I'm also picking up with this card that they may have sought advice or learned tactics from others on how to maintain multiple connections or hide their behavior. Eight of Pentacles can represent learning from a master or studying a skill. And in this case, it suggests they may have had mentors in deception, whether that was friends who behaved similarly or even content they consumed that taught them how to avoid getting caught. They were actively working to improve their ability to deceive, which shows a level of commitment to dishonesty that is truly disturbing. The Eight of Pentacles is also showing me that on some level, they took pride in their ability to juggle these different connections and keep all the balls in the air. There was an ego component to it, a sense of accomplishment in getting away with it. This is someone who saw relationships as a game to be won rather than sacred connections to be honored. Your pain was collateral damage in their pursuit of ego satisfaction and external validation. Now, I want to pull a card to show us what they were feeling emotionally beneath all the deception. The Hermit appears, and Taurus, this card is revealing something important about their internal isolation. The Hermit represents withdrawal, introspection, loneliness, and sometimes a journey that must be taken alone. What this card is showing me is that despite all the connections they were maintaining, despite all the attention they were seeking from multiple people, they felt profoundly alone inside. The Hermit is indicating that they do not know how to truly connect with others in an authentic way. All their relationships are surface level because they have never done the deep inner work required to show up as their genuine self. They hide behind masks, behind carefully curated images, because they are afraid that their true self is not enough, is not lovable, is not worthy of the kind of connection they actually crave. So they collect people and connections, hoping that quantity will somehow fill the void that can only be healed through quality and authenticity. What makes the Hermit particularly poignant in this reading is that it shows someone who is on a path they must walk alone, whether they realize it or not. Their behavior patterns are pushing people away, preventing real intimacy, ensuring that they remain isolated even when they are surrounded by others. This was not something you could have fixed or changed. This is their journey, their lesson to learn, their inner work to do. You could have loved them perfectly, and it would not have mattered because the issue is internal to them. The Hermit is also showing me that there were times they withdrew from you emotionally, times they became distant and unreachable. This was when they were confronting uncomfortable truths about themselves, when the weight of their lies became too heavy, when they felt the loneliness of living inauthentically. But instead of using those moments to make different choices, to come clean, to actually do the internal work the Hermit calls for, they would simply distract themselves with external validation and continue the cycle. I am also seeing with this card that they may have justified their behavior by convincing themselves that you could not really know them or understand them. The Hermit can represent feeling misunderstood, and they may have used that as an excuse for their secrecy and deception. They told themselves that if you really knew them, you would judge them or leave, so they protected themselves by never letting you truly in. This is self-fulfilling prophecy at its finest because by not allowing genuine connection, they ensured they would remain unknown and therefore alone. Let me draw another card because I want to understand what they actually wanted from you in this relationship. The Empress appears, and oh Taurus, this card is making so much sense now. The Empress represents nurturing, care, stability, abundance, and maternal energy. What this card is revealing is that they wanted you to mother them, to nurture them, to provide them with unconditional love and support while they gave you conditional, limited, carefully rationed affection in return. The Empress shows that you were providing something incredibly valuable in this relationship. You were creating a safe space, offering emotional support, being patient with their moods and inconsistencies, giving them the kind of love that heals and nourishes. And they took that, they consumed it, they benefited from it immensely. But they never intended to reciprocate at that level, because that would require vulnerability, authenticity, and commitment that they were not capable of offering. What is particularly frustrating about the Empress in this position is that it shows they were using your nurturing nature against you in a sense. They knew you would be understanding when they needed space, patient when they were inconsistent, forgiving when they made mistakes. So they took advantage of those beautiful qualities, pushing boundaries further and further, because they knew your loving nature would give them chance after chance. The Empress energy is not weak, but it can be exploited by those operating from lower vibrations. I am also picking up with the Empress that there was an abundance of love available in you that they simply were not equipped to handle or reciprocate. You were ready for real partnership, for building something stable and lasting, for creating a life together. But they were still in scarcity mindset, still operating from lack, still believing they needed multiple sources of validation because they did not understand that the abundance they were seeking was right in front of them in you. They could not see the value of what they had because they were too busy looking elsewhere. The Empress is also showing me that you may have been providing for them in practical ways as well, whether that was financially, domestically, or emotionally, carrying the weight of the relationship. The Empress gives generously, and I am sensing you were very generous with your person, always trying to make things work, always being the one to initiate difficult conversations or smooth over conflicts. They became comfortable with you doing all the emotional labor while they coasted, taking what they wanted, and giving back the bare minimum to keep you engaged. Now, let me pull a final card to give us clarity on what you need to understand moving forward. The Empress shows up here too. Wait, I need to be careful. I have already pulled the Empress. Let me pull again. Four of Cups appears as this final message, and Taurus, this card is so perfect for where you are right now. Four of Cups represents contemplation, reevaluation, and sometimes a period of withdrawal to process what has happened. What this card is telling you is that it is okay to take time to sit with these truths, to feel your feelings, to really let yourself process the depth of what was done to you. The Four of Cups shows someone sitting under a tree, arms crossed, seemingly uninterested in the cups being offered. In your situation, this represents a necessary period of closing yourself off to quick fixes, rebound relationships, or anyone trying to convince you to forgive and forget before you are ready. You need this time to really integrate the lessons from this experience, to rebuild your sense of trust in yourself and your intuition, to heal the wounds that were inflicted. What the Four of Cups is also showing me is that there will be new opportunities coming your way, new connections, new possibilities, but right now you might not be ready to see them or receive them. And that is completely okay. The universe is not asking you to rush into anything new. In fact, the message here is to be deliberate and cautious about who you allow into your space moving forward. Not everyone deserves access to your Empress energy, to your nurturing heart, to your generous spirit. I am also picking up with this card that you might be feeling somewhat apathetic or disconnected right now, like you are going through the motions but not fully present in your life. Four of Cups can represent a kind of emotional numbing that happens after betrayal. Your heart is protecting itself by creating some distance from feeling everything all at once. This is actually a healthy response to trauma, and you should honor it rather than trying to force yourself to feel differently than you do. The Four of Cups is also reminding you that just because someone offered you a connection, even if it seemed promising at the start, you are never obligated to keep accepting what they are giving if it is not truly nourishing your soul. You have the right to cross your arms, to say no thank you, to walk away from anything that does not feel genuinely aligned with your highest good. This experience has taught you valuable lessons about red flags, about trusting your intuition, about the difference between someone's words and their actions. So Taurus, let me bring this all together for you because I know this has been a lot to take in. The cards are showing very clearly that this person created a false image from the beginning. The moon reveals the illusion and deception that permeated your entire connection. They were never showing you their authentic self. They were performing a role, presenting a carefully curated version of themselves designed to win your trust and affection while hiding their true intentions and other connections. Three of Cups showed us that they were maintaining inappropriate connections with others, probably enjoying the attention and validation from multiple sources while you believed you were in an exclusive, committed relationship. The social situations, the friends who enabled poor behavior, the prioritization of external validation over genuine intimacy with you, all of that played into the betrayal. The High Priestess confirmed that they knew exactly what they were doing. This was not accidental or unintentional. They were consciously deceiving you, withholding information, manipulating situations to keep their secrets safe. They used their understanding of you against you, knowing exactly what to say and do to keep you invested while they pursued their own agenda behind your back. Six of Cups revealed the past connection that they never fully released, whether that was an ex-partner or someone else from their history. They were emotionally unavailable to you because part of their heart was still holding space for someone else. You were competing with a ghost, and you did not even know you were in a competition. Ace of Swords showed us the moment of truth, when the deception could no longer be maintained and everything came to light. Their departure was a strategic decision, a mental choice to exit rather than face accountability or do the work required to be honest and authentic in the relationship. Wheel of Fortune revealed the cyclical nature of their behavior, the patterns they repeat over and over with different people. This is who they are right now, operating from unhealed wounds and unresolved issues, and you were not uniquely at fault. You were simply the person they happened to be with during this particular turn of their wheel. Eight of Pentacles exposed the calculated, practiced nature of their deception. They worked at lying to you. They put effort into maintaining the false image. They were dedicated to their deception in a way that is honestly disturbing. This was not spontaneous bad behavior. This was sustained, deliberate betrayal. The Hermit showed us their profound internal loneliness, despite all their external connections. They do not know how to truly connect because they have never done the inner work required to show up authentically. They remain isolated by their own choices, surrounded by people but genuinely known by none. The Empress revealed what they wanted from you, that nurturing, healing, abundant love that you give so freely. They consumed your care and support while giving back the bare minimum, taking advantage of your generous heart and patient nature. And finally, Four of Cups is giving you permission to take time, to sit with these truths, to honor your need to withdraw and process. You do not have to rush into forgiveness. You do not have to immediately open yourself to new connections. You can simply be where you are right now, and that is enough. The truth about why they left is this. They left because maintaining the lie became unsustainable, because they were caught or feared being caught, because they had other options they wanted to pursue, because they are fundamentally unable to show up authentically in intimate relationships given their current level of healing and self-awareness. It was never about you being insufficient or lacking in any way. You loved them fully and honestly, and they were simply not capable of receiving or reciprocating that level of genuine connection. I hope this reading has brought you clarity, even though the truth is painful. You deserve so much better than what they gave you. You deserved honesty, loyalty, respect, and authentic love. What was done to you was not okay, and no amount of their internal wounds or patterns excuses the deliberate hurt they caused. But I also want you to know that this ending, as devastating as it feels, is actually a beginning for you. You are free now from a connection that was built on lies. You are free to heal, to rediscover yourself, to raise your standards, and eventually to open your heart to someone who is actually worthy of the incredible love you have to offer. Take your time, Taurus. Feel everything you need to feel. Trust that the universe removed this person from your life as an act of protection and love. Better things are coming, but first, honor this season of contemplation and healing. You are going to be okay, even though right now it might not feel that way. The truth has set you free, and freedom, even when it comes with pain, is always a gift.